We just passed 100 days with Donald Trump as president. If you watch my channel, you know that I give my honest opinion and I don't hold back. I'm going to be telling you what I really think of Donald Trump's first 100 days. The 100 days mark has been an important milestone for presidents. There are no official deadlines at 100 days, so it doesn't really mean anything. But there is some logic behind its importance. The idea is that when a new president takes office, they only have so much political capital. If they want to accomplish something big, they need to do it early on in their presidency because whatever they push for first is going to use up most of their political capital. What we've seen in the past is that after this initial period, crises will pop up that takes people's focus. Political opponents become less willing to work together, and the president's approval rating will begin to drop. Over time, it becomes more and more difficult to get things done. So the reason you look at the first 100 days is to see if Donald Trump was able to get his priorities done, because that will set the stage for the rest of his presidency. I think a good example of this is to look at Obama. When Obama first became president, his priority was to pass Obamacare. Obamacare did not get signed into law until over a year after Obama took office, but a lot of the groundwork was laid in that first 100 days. He spent all his political capital on passing Obamacare. If you think about Obama's 2 terms, he really was unable to deliver on any other major Democrat issues. He wasn't able to pass major legislation on environmental issues, gun control, or abortion rights because he put all his effort into Obamacare. So what is Donald Trump's priority? It turns out it is money. He has been spending a lot of time on what he calls a big, beautiful bill.
Where the hell is Congress? Where are the Republicans?
Yeah, well, I think they're working hard. I think you're going to see that if we pass the, as I call it, the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about one bill.
Yes.
We were talking, as you remember, it was a debate on should we do one big one or should we do 3 or 4 or 2? And we're doing it in one bill, which I thought was much more beautiful because it's everything. It's everything. It's tax cuts, it's regulation cuts, it's things that you wouldn't believe. Lots of, big. It's big, and we get that done. It's beautiful.
He is talking about the budget bill. But it's much more than just your normal budget bill. Donald Trump is fundamentally changing the financial structure of the government. He is combining the cuts from DOGE finding waste, fraud, and abuse, the decrease in government employees, the increased revenue from the tariffs, the increased revenue from his new gold card system for immigration, and changes to the IRS tax structure. The new IRS tax structure will include things like no tax on tips. The end result will be tax cuts for the middle class. We're not sure yet exactly what that will look like, but it sounds like everyone in the middle class will be receiving a check in the mail from Donald Trump. I'm kind of shocked that Trump has been pushing this bill as his priority. I was sure he was going to push election reform, which I'm sure he will still try to do. But for right now, it appears that he is spending his political capital on us, the middle class. I'm pleasantly surprised. Everything I hear about this bill sounds like such a good idea, and it will be setting up the financial future for this country for years to come. Now, I don't want to diminish all the other things he's been working on. Clearly, Trump has signed an enormous amount of executive orders that have had dramatic impacts to the country. But the problem with executive orders is that the next time a Democrat becomes president, they can just reverse all of them. So you really want to make the executive orders into a law if you want them to have lasting impact. A good example of this is the border. Donald Trump has signed a number of executive orders about immigration at the border. He also signed into law the Lincoln Riley Act, which makes it easier to deport illegal immigrants who commit crimes. Trump's actions have been enormously successful. It has been shocking how quickly the issues at the border have changed. It really shows the difference from Joe Biden. Border crossings are down 96% under the Trump administration. but most of Trump's reforms with immigration have been implemented with executive orders. With the Democrats' response to Trump's border reforms, it is clear that if the Democrats ever take the presidency again, they intend to overturn all of Trump's policies and let in as many illegal immigrants as possible. I really don't understand why the Democrats are trying to destroy America. I'm going to show you just one example of what President Trump is stopping.
Yeah, Rachel and Owen, that's right. According to prosecutors, the two men accused of kidnapping and murdering that girl are gang members from El Salvador who perform satanic-type rituals on their female victims. Take a look at this video from court. This is 22-year-old Miguel Alvarez Flores on the left and 18-year-old Diego Hernandez Rivera on the right. Now, police say they learned about these two men from a 14-year-old girl who told detectives she was kidnapped, drugged, and sexually assaulted by members of the MS-13 gang. The 14-year-old reportedly told investigators she was moved from one apartment to another and forced into consuming drugs and alcohol, then at one point was held down as Alvarez Flores tattooed the image of the Grim Reaper on her body from her knee down to her foot. This girl also says she met another girl at the apartment named Genesis where they were being held. She believes Genesis is the girl found shot on February 16th. Now, the witness told investigators there was a satanic statue in the apartment. The gang members said they wanted to, quote, offer the beast a soul. Police say Hernandez Rivera and Alvarez Flores killed the girl known as Genesis.
These are illegal immigrant gang members who are kidnapping teenage girls, performing satanic rituals on them, and then killing them. Why are the Democrats fighting so hard to let these type of things continue? I am so grateful that Donald Trump is putting a stop to it. One issue that Donald Trump has received criticism for is the war in Ukraine. Everyone is pointing to the moment when Trump said he was going to end the war in 24 hours.
I would tell Putin, gotta settle. I would tell Zelensky, you gotta settle. I would tell one, you're gonna load up with money. I'd tell the other, you're not gonna get any money. I would get a settlement in 24 hours.
I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together, that war would have never happened.
Clearly, it seems like Donald Trump underestimated how hard it was going to be to negotiate a peace settlement. I'm not sure Trump realized there are a lot of people who actually want World War III to happen. They want the war with Russia to continue. Zelensky has been doing everything to defy Trump, but he's really just acting like a puppet for these warmongers. So I really don't put the blame on Trump here. I just wish him the best to get this resolved as quickly as possible. The other major criticism of Donald Trump is the stock market. The stock market has been fluctuating wildly since Trump started putting tariffs in place. I've talked about this a lot on my channel. People need to just calm down.
Walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done.
Trump says that investors are getting yippy, describing investors like little yapper dogs. He also called people panicans. This is a combination of panic and Republicans. This was from a post on X.com where he said, "The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panican. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result." Now, a lot of people were offended by being called weak and stupid, but I think it was kind of funny. I don't know who needs to hear this, but the stock market goes up and down all the time. Stop freaking out about it. If you just take a step back, you can see that the stock market is up around 8% over the last 12 months.
That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness.
The potential upside of the stock market is huge if Trump continues on his path. I'm not as concerned about the stock market as everyone else is, so I take this criticism with a grain of salt. One promise that Donald Trump did keep was releasing the January 6 political prisoners on day one. This was a big deal because there were a lot of Republicans telling him not to do this. But as I have reported on this channel, the persecution these people had faced for the last 4 years under Joe Biden has been so horrible, so unfair, that it was the right thing to do to let these political prisoners out of jail.
And another thing we'll do, and so many people have been asking me about it, if I run and if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. We will treat them fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons because they are being treated so unfairly. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. One of the people that burned down Minneapolis is going to be prosecuted, or in Seattle. They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. One of those people are going to be prosecuted.
Donald Trump gets huge praise from me for making this right. A big part of grading Donald Trump is evaluating who he hires to work in his cabinet. They are the ones implementing a lot of his plans. Are they doing a good job? The person I want to focus the most on is Scott Bessent. He has the incredibly important job of Treasury Secretary. He's in charge of the money. In the first 100 days, Scott Bessent has been my biggest disappointment. While I'm sure he has been working hard, it doesn't seem to me like he's focusing on the big picture issues we were all hoping for. And maybe he is, but we've not heard about it. Specifically, central bank digital currency, or CBDC. This is essentially cryptocurrency that the government would control. This is the single greatest threat to your financial freedom, because the government would then control all of your money. They could turn it on or turn it off whenever they wanted. So if you spoke out against the Democrats, whoops, suddenly your money is no good. Here Scott Bessent is addressing this concern during his confirmation hearing.
I do want to talk with you for a moment about CBDCs and some of the push that the Biden administration had. They did an executive order for Treasury to research development of a CBDC in the United States. And of course, this causes a lot of us heartburn because we look at what the CCP did with the digital yuan in connection with the Olympics. So upon confirmation, how would you approach this discussion of CBDCs? And are you for them or against them? Could you end the Biden administration project to create a U.S.-based CBDC?
On CBDCs, I see no reason for the U.S. to have a central bank digital currency. In my mind, a central bank digital currency is for countries who have no other investment alternatives. Don't yield
so
very
your
much.
View of that would be a negative view?
Well, I view that many of these countries are doing it out of necessity, whereas the U.S., if you hold U.S. dollars, you could hold a variety of very secure U.S. assets.
So he said during his confirmation that he is against CBDC. But then he's never talked about it again. I will repeat, this is the single greatest threat to your financial freedom, and he's not doing anything about it. The reason people are so freaked out about this is that during the Biden administration, they were going full speed ahead to implement CBDC. They were writing policy papers. They were putting the financial infrastructure in place to implement it. They were even running studies with test groups using CBDC. This was a communist takeover to seize your money. And all the employees who were previously working on this are probably still working at the Treasury. What is Scott Bessent doing to stop this? Because it doesn't seem like he's doing anything at all. Now, Trump did issue an executive order about CBDC. It said, the executive order prohibits agencies from undertaking any action to establish, issue, or promote central bank digital currencies. That is wonderful. But we need to hear some follow-up from Scott Bessent on the steps he has taken to put this into place. 1. Tell us all the studies on CBDCs that have been stopped. 2. Write an official U.S. policy paper explaining the dangers of CBDC. 3. Explain the infrastructure that has been stopped and shut down. Maybe Scott Bessent is working on all this stuff, but none of us have heard anything about it. Just to show you what a problem this is what is displayed on the Federal Reserve website right now. It says, a CBDC would be the safest digital asset available to the general public with no associated credit or liquidity risk. This is communist propaganda. It is a lie, and I want to know why Scott Bessent is not doing anything about it. CBDC is such a big threat that it keeps me up at night. I cannot sleep because Scott Bessent is not saying anything. My second problem with Scott Bessent is cryptocurrency. We were promised that the U.S. government was going to start holding Bitcoin as part of the U.S. reserve currency.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. No, you're going to be very happy with me. You're going to be so happy. Yesterday, I signed an executive order officially creating our strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this will be a virtual Fort Knox for digital gold to be housed within the United States Treasury. That's a big thing, Scott.
Did you notice something about this announcement? As Trump was speaking, the price of Bitcoin was dropping. Why would the price go down when Trump was announcing the new reserve? Because it's not really a reserve. Here's what he's talking about. The U.S. government will seize assets as part of criminal and civil court cases. Right now, the government holds around $18 billion in crypto that they have seized for various reasons. Trump is saying that they're gathering all the crypto into one place where they can manage it more effectively. But really, they're not changing anything the government was already doing. They were already holding all that crypto. Even more troubling, this is not really crypto the government owns. When the government seizes assets during a court case, they're supposed to be just holding it temporarily, and it should get paid out to victims as compensation or the police departments affected. It's not clear how much of this $18 billion the government will even be able to keep. Calling this a reserve is a little bit of a scam. What's really going on is it seems like Scott Bessent does not want to prop up crypto that could compete with the US dollar. So instead, they're doing this meaningless gesture to try and trick people. But no one is being convinced. That is why the price of Bitcoin has been dropping. What people want is some kind of plan for the Treasury to buy and hold crypto as part of their reserve currency portfolio. Currently, the Treasury holds around $241 billion in dollars, gold, and other foreign currencies. Now, it's currently against the law for the Treasury to purchase any other types of assets as reserve currency. The SEC would first have to recognize certain crypto coins as actual currency. Then new legislation would have to be passed to allow the Treasury to purchase it. But let me explain what is so frustrating about this. Let's go back to CBDC. CBDC is essentially communism. Cryptocurrency represents freedom. The Biden administration was tenaciously pushing to implement CBDC. The Trump administration is simply pretending that they support cryptocurrency. Why aren't they showing the same tenacity that Joe Biden showed for communism? Let's be honest. The Federal Reserve currently does things that are illegal all the time. If you want to get technical, quantitative easing is technically illegal. The Federal Reserve started doing quantitative easing as an emergency measure in 2008. You are telling me they've been doing this emergency measure for 17 years. That is illegal. If the Federal Reserve can do that, I don't believe you cannot find a way to buy a few Bitcoin. Scott Bessent is just not trying very hard. It is a big disappointment. But the biggest disappointment of Scott Bessent is about the gold at Fort Knox. Donald Trump was talking about auditing the gold at Fort Knox.
And we're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to?
You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that? How was that bad, Mum? One of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would this president, you haven't brought up...
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
The very next day, Scott Bessent went on television and said this.
Elon Musk, who's leading DOGE, was talking about maybe going to Fort Knox to make sure those gold reserves are there. That comes under your purview. Do you have any plans to visit Kentucky?
I don't have any plans. I can tell you that we do an audit every year. I can tell the American people on camera right now that there was a report September 30th, 2024. All the gold is there. Any U.S. senator who wants to come and visit it can arrange a visit through our office.
Scott Bessent is lying. This is the exact moment that I lost confidence in Scott Bessent. He's lying directly to your face on national TV. He is referring to this report, which is an annual audit of the Treasury's schedules of United States gold reserves held by Federal Reserve banks. This is not an audit of the gold. It's an audit of the schedules. Specifically, this is what was audited. A one-line financial statement saying this is how much gold there is. No one went and actually looked at the gold. They just looked at this accounting schedule. This is not what people want. They want an audit of the gold. Scott Bessent knows this, and he knows that anyone who cares about this issue knows that he is lying about it. I don't know why he would do this. Does he think we are all idiots? We want to know if the gold is still there at Fort Knox. I was not going to look into the gold story about Fort Knox. I used to think, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. But now, you have to admit that what Scott Bessent is doing is very suspicious. Why is he trying to keep everyone from looking at the gold? The last full audit that was done was in 1953 with a partial review in 1974. It has been 72 years since a full audit was done on the gold. With Scott Bessent lying about it, it makes it seem like a massive cover-up is going on. This should be a top priority, not something to be ignored by Scott Bessent. Again, are these issues that Scott Bessent is working on behind the scenes? Maybe, but he's certainly not communicating it to any of us. That brings us to Trump's employee that has been communicating, Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been my biggest surprise, and he has done a stellar job. I have been critical of Elon Musk in the past. In fact, I've made fun of him so much on this channel, he probably hates my guts. But I have to give him credit. It turns out there's a reason that he's a billionaire. He works extremely hard and he gets results. The cost savings from DOGE is going to transform our government for generations to come. But the most important thing he did was just to make everyone realize that it was possible. It is possible to cut enormous waste. It is possible to cut large amounts of the workforce and the government will still keep working. People just assumed these were unsolvable problems for government. But Elon Musk showed us that we could do it. The people receiving the most criticism in Trump's cabinet are Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi, the group of people working in the Department of Justice and the FBI. In the first 100 days, they have made no major arrests for all the political corruption we have suffered through during the last 4 years. Specifically, there have been no arrests related to the attempts on Donald Trump's life, even though there's a lot of evidence that there was a traitor inside the government. Something that I've been telling people is that we need to give them more time. They're investigating a conspiracy. It would be one thing if it was just one person, but we are talking about multiple people, and we don't even know who all of them are. So the way this normally works is you start by investigating the low-level people involved. You get them to agree to a plea deal if they give up the next higher person in the conspiracy. You keep flipping people until you know everyone involved, and then you can make arrests. This process takes time. I'm sure they are well on their way towards prosecutions. So with all that information, what grade would I give Donald Trump during his first 100 days? Even with all the problems, I would still give Donald Trump an A+. Out of all the presidents in my lifetime, I don't remember any of them having the impact that Trump has had. Now, I realize that other commentators are giving Trump grades like C's and C-. What are they talking about? I feel like every day is Christmas. He's doing something new and great every single day.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Boom! Trump nailed that guy. Fake news! Here's what I think. If people were actually reporting on the truth, no other president has been as great as this. And all these actions Donald Trump is taking are snowballing and building on each other, and pretty soon he's going to make America great again. Just in terms of making me proud to be an American, Trump makes me feel patriotic. It makes me believe that this country is special and just and powerful. The future looks bright, and Donald Trump is making that happen. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Donald Trump is doing a good job? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. I do want to give a quick channel update. I've been talking about how YouTube has been demonetizing my videos. I have appealed and had some of these decisions reversed, which is good. But the problem is that most of a video's views will happen in the first week, and if you get monetized after that, you already missed out on most of your revenue. I just have to give a huge thank you to everyone who has been supporting me. This last month especially, people have been signing up for channel memberships and sending in donations through my website, wolvesandfinance.com. I just want to let you know that I have been getting your support, and thank you so much. It really has helped me to get by. I'm a small channel. I'm not like some of these other people on YouTube who have funding and sponsors and fancy studios. I just put these videos together by myself because I think it's important to get the truth out there. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I'm Zach from Wolves in Finance. Thank you for watching.